welcome to Nourishing the Mother, where inspired women talk about the journey of motherhood through the common thread of parenting, relationship, and sexuality as a path to consciousness. We ask, in what ways can we show up more fully, live more meaningfully, parent more wholly, and love more unconditionally? How can we mine the wisdom from the experiences of our lives and expand into those challenges? If you are here, you care about paving a path of conscious and intentional motherhood, connected with yourself and your gifts, and also illuminating your children in theirs, so we may raise more whole humans who can impact this world in a more humane way. And if you feel like giving a little back to this free content, please become a patron of the show and receive extra member benefits for less than a coffee a month. Or you can leave a review on iTunes and Facebook, all of which helps the podcast keep going and reach more mamas who need this type of tonic for the soul. Head on over to patreon.com/NTM podcast to find out more. We are Julie Tenner and Bridget Wood, and we are so grateful you're here.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is Liberate Your Life Beyond Your Stuck Places, which sounds a bit lofty.
It does, but we're going to bring it down.
Yeah. I fully trust Bridget. She's like, no, I really am like here. I really get it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to trust you.
Oh, shit, now the pressure's on.
So before we do that, we would love to remind you to jump into nourishingthemother.com.au and scroll down to the red banner and join our tribe, where once every so often we pop you off an email that lets you know what we've got going on and coming up, because things like our Self-Confident Kid bundle, loads of people missed out on.
They did. I know, and I felt so bad because we were getting messages and I was like, oh, damn it. Yes.
Yeah, it's already done. It was only available for a week. And so if you've missed the podcast, you've listened to the podcast later, or you are not in the email list, then you're not going to know that stuff's happening. So if you really do want to make sure that you know what we've got going on so you can pick and choose where you want to dive deeper or not, then jump onto nourishingthemother.com.au, sign up to join our tribe, and we will make sure that we keep you in the loop. And
that's also why we're not talking about Amplify, because we're going to talk about Amplify, which is our New Year manifesting program. But
which we started today.
But we also recognise that could be over.
This is a pre-record podcast.
So if you still want to join that, you can. If you are in the, what week are we? Third week of January. But if not, we are going to launch right into what we're going to be creating in February, which beautifully stacks upon the stuff in Amplify. Because when you start to recognize where you, in your reflections on your past year and the places that you got stuck, that there's a pattern with that. And there's often a pattern with the places where you get frustrated at yourself or others, or you keep feeling like, I keep doing all this shit. All I have to keep doing is moving stuff, or, running into this issue. And so Liberate is really our intention to look at that stuff in our physical spaces and find some liberation beyond the stuckness, beyond the Groundhog Day in our homes, so that we can have more spaciousness. Create spaciousness. Create spaciousness was one of the things that one of the principles we really started Nourishing the Mother with, and that was really from an energetic, mental, emotional point of view. But there is a lot of value in looking at and assessing your physical spaces. And in fact, it's come about largely because a beautiful long-time listener of ours listened to our podcast about a month ago when I lamented the state of my office.
Yeah, and I'd said to you, you have to clean that shit because our physical home is a representation of our emotional or body self. So the stuck, awkward, stuffed, dark,
unorganized places of our physical home, the spaces that Bridget's talking about that we keep running into, or it feels like Groundhog Day, this feels really hard, or blah, 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 are a representation of the emotional, psychological ones.
So my office was really playing on my mind, and this beautiful listener emailed and said, look, I just wanted to let you know, like, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I've actually started, after Loathing to Loving program years ago, and I really got really clear on what I love and what lights me up.
She saw her genius.
She saw her genius. Oh my God.
And I actually remember those conversations.
Me too.
Yeah.
And this was years ago. This must have been maybe 3-4 years ago.
Seriously has to have been one of our first or second rounds of Loathing to Loving, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she told us, I'm now in professional organising. I would love to come and look at your house.
Yeah. So after realising that the thing that she thought was just something everybody did was an individualised skill set and genius for her, she's then made a business out of it, which is like
so
freaking epic.
We just love celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here she is, right? This is like the whole pay it forwards thing.
Yeah.
Come back going, Bridget, you gave me this gift and I want to give it back. Can I please come and use my wisdom to help you? And you were like, oh, I've got all these edges.
Yeah, totally. I still haven't taken photos of my space yet to send it.
Haven't you?
I haven't, because I'm looking at it going, well, what's the usual level of mess here? Like, what's the general threshold that it's at? Because this seems like it's a bit beyond. However, I've been saying that to myself for about a week, so maybe it's not at the moment.
I think you should just take a photo, just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it. I was just like, ching, ching, because I know my stuck place is my kids' 2 bedrooms. And I was like, I didn't care. There was clothes all over the floor, probably undies in the photo. I mean, who knows? And I was just like, yep, this is me. I'm an open book. This is like my dirtiest, darkest place. You can see it. I don't mind.
I guess for me, I've got my husband's tools everywhere because he's on holidays. So I'm like, that's probably not really normal that we've got that. So I'll wait till that moves. However, the reality is, if you don't have a spot for something, something else takes its place, right?
Yeah.
So I'll rip the Band-Aid off and take the photos.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, so that really led us to looking at.
So this led us to, right, let's do this thing, because this is perfect. If we move through January where we're manifesting what we want for our year ahead, then February is perfect to then declutter and learn how to organize space, physical, mental and emotional, right? In a super organized, fun, energetic way that aligns with what we've just wanted to put in place from January and paves the way for the stepping into the woman you need to become for whom that reality is possible.
Yeah, because if you're spending all of, every spare pocket of your day picking up stuff, or like, you're just on this kind of circuit between mess areas of the house, and there is no space for new creation because you're stuck on a track. And so we want to kind of circuit break the track so that you can have the space to do what you would really love, which might be a little pocket of work, or it might be more connection time with your kids, or it might be more intimacy with your partner, whatever that is that you're wanting to call in. We need to look at how do we create space to allow that, because, you and I are examples of the fact that you don't get the space unless you create it.
No, it doesn't ever happen upon you.
Yeah, and that we were determined to create a business and create businesses that could fit around our motherhood and not take away from it. And so for us to elevate more in those spaces, we need to look at, well, what's not working over here that I can, shift. And fortunately, we've got some beautiful help from somebody who knows a shit ton more about organising than we do.
And also is not emotionally attached to the space.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think this is the beauty of hiring a coach of any sort in any area of life, right? It's why we hire personal trainers. It's why we hire space organisers. It's why we hire everyone of any description, right? Personal coaches or otherwise, because they see us in ways we cannot see ourselves, and they will take us to places we cannot take ourselves.
That's right.
And a house is no different.
It's so right. And it also is just so powerful for us to get that reflection back and to feel into, like, what edges come up for us. Even in the process of, like, as I say, taking the photos, or, at the moment I've just finally, like, taken the step and hired a cleaner, and I'm specific about what I want to be cleaned. And, and part of that ownership is a really powerful piece in what is going to add up to our liberation in the areas that we need more liberation in, so that we can create from a place of, I don't know, anchored structure I suppose.
Yeah, but I think that's also knowing that the point of Amplify or putting together your manifestations and intentions for 2020 is to get really clear on what's aligned and integrated with who you are and who you're becoming. Yeah. But also to realize that when you put in place those steps, you're seeking a reality that is not currently yours. And the reality that is currently yours is you as you currently are.
That's right.
So for you to...
So if you want to know what your year looks like, look at yourself right now. Like, you know, look at your life right now, because that's another year of that unless
you offer change.
Yeah.
So your reality is everything that you're currently doing that creates and manifests that vibration of reality. If you want change, right, the definition of insanity is to approach the same problem the same way and expect a different result. That's insanity. I say it to my children all the time. Versus, I have to change how I approach this situation, and then like magic,
this can change.
A destiny is opened rather than a reality. So it's the same thing when we're manifesting. We can't stay as we are. And here's the pain factor involved in really conscious manifesting, is that what comes up for you that feels hard and in the way is on the way. It's the next toolkit, the next thing that says this holds the potential you're seeking. Be here in a way you never have before, learn a toolkit you never have before, and that then becomes possible for you. But if you enter this the same way you always have, those manifestations are not coming true, because you have already manifested what is possible for you with how you currently are.
You're stuck in the same narrative. You know, much like we say, you know, relationship is a code, as a dynamic, right? And so no one is any one thing, like he's just this or she's always that. No, your dynamic is an expression of how you relate to each other, which makes things like that. However, when you show up, when you change how you show up, what manifests changes, which is exactly the same as what we're talking about here with physical spaces.
Yes.
So we're going to be working with this lovely lady to overhaul our spaces, and we're going to be she's going to be putting together a great checklist, and we're doing episodes, because we've just learned how to take videos.
Yeah, we have.
Which we're so excited about. It's like super, super fun. So we're going to be videoing our process, and we're going to be having insights from this lovely lady, and we're going to be having a checklist that you can use in your own space that will help you tease out like the physical and the emotional aspect of it. Because I mean, I don't know who else watched Marie Kondo's tidying up episode.
Oh my God, I was obsessed.
So me too. And, you know, I've got to say, like, my clothing has totally stayed Marie Kondo. Like, it's all still, like, and I love it. I actually love the process of it. But she talks about, like, the emotional weight, or the weight that things carry energetically in your home, and to be mindful of what comes in, because it you know, there's almost like a price in everything that comes through your door, because not only is it just a thing, it's a thing that you have to store, look at, dispose of eventually. Like, everything has you know, a cost. And so it's this conscious process of asking ourselves what we want our spaces to represent and work for us.
And the minimalist movement would say if an object doesn't have 35 uses or more, that it shouldn't be in your home.
Oh, is that what it is? 35? Wow.
35.
Because I've heard of a lot of people who have, like, you know, one. Like,
so tiny homes, or the minimalist movement, that's how they move in. If it doesn't have 35 uses, it doesn't come in. So Marie Kondo is the only one who changes that minimalist step kind of a bit further.
Because she brings beauty into it too.
Yeah, and sentiment. So the things that elevate your state of being then need to have a beautiful way of being stored or on display.
I really love the reverence with which she does that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I just love it.
Yeah. Because she sees the home as the metaphysical representation of the human, right?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what we're talking about here. So we are very vulnerably opening up the spaces that are really hard for us and asking for help in that space from an expert. And seeing what transpires and transforms just by virtue of saying, yes, we'll enter the stuff that feels hard and that I haven't yet. So
it even feels vulnerable saying it, because we're just beginning to embark on it now. So
yes, we are. We are. And so for you, it's your home office.
Yeah, well, it's actually not, because that we realised, well, after the episode where I talked about my home office, my husband and I went in there and said, well, actually half of all of this is your tools, because he's got all these valuable tools that can't go outside because we don't have a secure shed. So what's happened is he's now building a shed to house all the tools. So until we have a place for all the tools, we can't do the office. So the office, the door's saying close on that until I have most of it out so I can redo the office. So the spaces that we're working with is my living, dining, lounge kind of area, because I find that they just tend to accumulate piles of stuff. Even though I have like storage space, the kid drawings, the, you know, like just stuff that gets like ends up just accumulating in piles in places, or I have like something I don't have storage space. It's just that stuff just ends up accumulating, and it drives me fucking nuts. So that is my space that we're going to be working with, because I have all of the places to put it, but it's like I don't have like those talents and skill sets to have a structure for a spot where every single thing goes, and therefore teaching my kids the spot where everything goes. I kind of have the start of it, but then it kind of like goes to shit, and it's like a clean up back to basics, and then a couple of days later it's back sort of to where it was. And so I want to kind of have a structure for how we work in that space all together.
That's so interesting. I actually think that's super valuable, because I do think the living kitchen space is probably the space most
That's
most
also why I decided to do it, because I thought this is going to add the most value to our listeners.
I really want you to do your fucking office though. Like, that's where your identity is
I know.
stored.
Well, and I mean, maybe I'm resisting. I think I'm saying this out loud. Maybe, yes, I'm also resisting it, because as long as I don't look in there, I don't have to look at like my holding pattern with my business that I don't know what I'm doing. So yes, I still need to do my corner of that office.
I would really want you to do it. Like, why can't you just move the fucking tools into your bedroom?
No fucking way.
No, while you do the office.
I can put them in a corner and get.
How's that? No fucking way. But they can be in my office space.
Well, I don't. In my
they can't be in your relationship, but they can be in your work.
All the tools. Yeah, right. I have to unpack that.
The clutter,
the
right?
The clutter can't be in my
relationship,
but the clutter can be in
put it in
your
your bedroom, Bridget. No fucking way.
Well, that was because I don't want to look at it. Like, I don't want to, like, I really value, like, you know, like my...
The beauty, yeah, I get it. The clear.
The clear.
But what if you could have that in work?
That would be really nice too. Yeah, I could like that as well. But not instead of...
No, I'm not saying instead of. I'm just saying I still really want you to do it, because I think it's on the way. I don't think it has to be, well, I've only got so much brain space, so we're doing this area. It seems like a wasted opportunity.
I'll have a chat. I'll have a chat to Tara.
Okay.
And we'll see what we can
I really want you to do your office.
But I did also think that in terms of broader value, the living dining lounge is
I get
more
that.
valuable for everybody else.
I get that.
Even though the office is my clearly vulnerable space.
Maybe you could just do both.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's not that hard.
Maybe not. So, but I was thinking about like Liberate, and, you know, the place that we don't look at and where we're disempowered can, you know, they're ripe for overpowerment, right? So if I don't look at my office, if I'm not staying on top of all my bills, because I'm in the process of doing my tax return, so I've had to get all of the paperwork that I haven't been dealing with the last, you know, however long I've been consumed by baby and all of that. And so I've been sorting through it all, and I'm like, holy far out. Like, look how much this cost. Like, this investment property costs us a freaking fortune. I didn't even know. Like, you know, we don't look at can bring pain, right? But it's in looking at that we bring clarity to it, because now that I've looked at it, I've been able to email the right people and try to get some, you know, more insights and information that I didn't have before to now make some potentially different choices, or not. But if I'm not looking at it, I'm not aware of it. So now I'm aware of it, I can go, okay, this is where we stand. So what do we want to do here? Whereas, you know, it's like that whole thing, like, you know, a little bit like you with whatever you shove down lowest on the list is in chaos. Well, that, what used to be an area that was like for a while there, like number one. when I was, intense research purchase mode, but now it's like fucking wasn't even on the list. And so it got into chaos. And so now I'm, okay, how do I bring order into my chaos? And I think we need to do this from a place of compassion with ourselves, knowing that our life is always organized on this spectrum of order and chaos, order and chaos, order and chaos, depending on where our values are lying. So my values are really, really highly in family at the moment, which means, and I said to my husband, like, I think I was emailing like the agent or whoever it was, and I was feeling that sense of like, oh, and then he came over and gave me a hug and I said, this is where my abundance is. I said that to him because I could recognize that I was like kind of beating myself up with where I felt disempowered and not abundant. And then I could feel into him and felt, yeah, this is where I feel it now. I know it's not gone. It's here. And I wouldn't change that. So I can appreciate that I have this order here and then I have this chaos over here, and that's life, right? I'm going to have the two. And my hierarchy of my values right now means that this is what it looks like. And so, yeah, I might be working through some stuff that's in chaos, but I can appreciate where my abundance is.
Which stops you from spiraling into shame.
That's right. And stops you from continuing to avoid the thing. Right? Or see your avoidance, but hold it with like, appreciation for why it's there, maybe because you're getting something out of it. Like for me at the moment, like the chaos in the office and the chaos in not knowing what I get to do with what I want to do with business is in some ways bringing me enormous benefits to my family because I get to focus on that right now and not give that stuff too much.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've got a lot going on in my family right now. However, knowing that you can't ignore stuff for too long because then you have disempowerment, then you have chaos, then you have things that will thrust you into those places in your life and completely pull you away because they've become significant, So it's just knowing that that's what life's going to offer us and to kind of ideally get the spinning plates all spinning, but know that sometimes you're not going to, and that's where we're going to be called into our next level of growth. You can see you kind of thinking over things.
I'm really excited actually, / I was just thinking I'm really nervous as well to have this sense like we're doing Amplify this week, but I really, like you do, I know, take manifesting so seriously because I know that in order to grow, I have to change who I am. And I know that growth takes pain. So it's kind of like starting on the roller coaster. So I kind of feel like I'm at the top of the hill and I'm about to like hang on tight and like,
where are we going
down the rabbit hole. Yeah. And I'm kind of at the top going, do I want to? Like it's like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm listening to you and I'm going, yeah, I know I'm going to encounter challenge and I know I'm going to have to find a way to rise to that in order to have the thing that I want. But there's part of me that sits here going, oh, but it's really nice here and I don't want to.
Yeah, and I really like how it is right now. Yeah. It's like I was talking to my husband the other day because he's been on, holidays and he's about to go back to work. And like we had, of course, like he says to me, I have ridiculous lists and he's even worse, I reckon.
You have ridiculous lists?
Yeah. Of things that I want to get done in a day. And so
expectations are the root of all suffering.
And so I raise him a mirror and say, hello. Because he wanted to build a shed and fill and spray like the paint the whole house.
Hilarious.
Like all these things. And anyway, like
how was he going to spray the whole house with kids around? How is that actually going to happen?
I think it was like pockets, like I've got kids, me watching the kids, or my parents watching the kids, or around the kids. Not the younger one, obviously, but. He's actually been great. He's been showing the kids how to fill, so they've kind of been helping with the filling aspect. But anyway, in amongst all of this, we realised we have a fucking rat infestation in our chicken house.
Oh, no.
So I was saying to my husband, because like he's then been researching all of the best ways to get rid of rats.
You just have to get a cat.
Well, I don't want to get a fucking cat. Sorry for the cat lovers. I fucking hate cats. Like I really don't like cats. So we're looking at all the different ways. And Anyway, I'm like,
your big chickens will eat the rats.
Well, we've got to get some bigger chickens because we used to have like, Isa Browns, which are more aggressive, and they do that. Like we never had a problem, but now I've only got 2 chickens more docile compared to the 6 we usually have. Anyway, so that's one way. But as we're like,
how did we get onto the rat infestation?
I'm talking about this in the context of, I said to my husband, but if you don't, like this is universal law, right? Like if you don't,
here's the chaos.
Well, if you don't feel your law,
we all have rats under the chicken house.
No, but shut up and let me say it. All right. If we don't fill our day with high priority things, they get filled up with low priority distractions. And so I said that to my husband, and he's like, but this isn't low priority. Like, don't you realize this is a high priority because they can eat through the wiring and they can get into the roof. And he's like, this is a problem now because we didn't do something earlier. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because we saw the chaos, or there was beginnings of chaos, the whispers of chaos, and didn't do anything about it. And so that's how we have our rat infestation that we are now working with, and trialing different traps and, catch and release, which that's getting pretty old pretty quick. Yeah. So that was my rat story. Yeah,
I love the metaphor though. I feel like I'm going to reflect upon that metaphor. I feel like I'm going to go, yep.
There's my rats.
Yeah, exactly. It's my rat infestation under my chicken house. There it is. I really think it's going to become a thing in my head.
Oh, okay, there you go. I look forward to seeing what you do with that.
Yeah, I'll let you know. But that's the truth of it, isn't it? And that we have to find ways to take small baby steps, and that's the whole point of mapping it out, in order to set ourselves up to become the woman for whom that reality is possible.
That's right.
It requires change. We are supposed to adapt and change. To fight change is to fight your growth and the inevitability, and you end up in more suffering.
Totally.
Because the greater the expectation, the greater the suffering, right? I
said to my son this morning, don't fight reality.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it didn't really. He didn't take the blanket off his head. He was still under the blanket.
It makes you feel better as I say that to my daughter too.
That's funny. Anyway, my breasts are filling up with milk as we speak.
Yeah.
Just for those who are listening. And so I do need to go and feed my baby. Yeah. But we would really love you to keep a lookout when we announce Liberate, because it's going to be a beautiful process, I think. It will take us to a few edges, as we've heard.
Well, I hope it's really going to give you some really good ideas and conscious conversations around liberating the energy that's stuck for you, right? Is dealing with your rat infestation under your chicken house. Like, that's what it is, right? Yeah. We've all got the chicken house and we've all got the rats. No, really? So the point is, who do you enlist to help you with that? And how do you approach it, right? What are the different traps
how do you
set
break
up?
It down?
Right, yeah. What do you set up when you build?
Because we had to have the conversation. I said to my husband, originally, we were both kind of really sad because one of the ways we tried to get rid of the rats, or one of them we caught, we put in this bucket, but you've got to stop them jumping out of the bucket, you've got to fill the bucket with water. And then it was jumping out of the bucket too much and eventually drowned. And so we felt really sad. We both felt really sad. And then we saw more rats. And then we just got fucking angry. So we've moved from compassion into
rage.
Well, just frustration at the catch and release and the time consuming. And I was like, this is the we've got to weigh out what's more humane, and then what's my time worth, and then what's going to be the most effective way to stop them coming back again, because they're territorial. So we're having to work through all of these different approaches for what's going to be the most effective and efficient way to deal with our rat infestation, which we can take across in any area of life.
100%.
So we will leave you with that.
And we would love to hear how you will also apply the metaphor.
That's right.
So to connect with us is nourishingthemother.com.au, Nourishing the Mother on Facebook and Instagram. Please DM us, please email us, please stay in social contact. We would love to hear about your chicken house or otherwise. We really would. If you are in our Amplify group and you've done our process, then we absolutely want to hear from you about your vision boards, what you're manifesting, and when it happens, because that is such a delightful process to kind of almost tick off, wow, look at this. I am such a potent center of manifestation. And I think often it gives you the kick to go keep going, through the challenge, because we're all on the roller coaster.
Totally.
And to connect with you, Bridget.
Suburban and you, Jules.
ThePleasureNutritionist.com. And
we will, what are we saying? Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
And if you want to support Nourishing the Mother and all the late nights, the early mornings, the blood, sweat and tears we pour into our art, then please go to patreon.com/NTM podcast and become our patron. As a patron, you're helping all of the cost of operating this podcast, the hosting, the editing, the transcription, helping all of that be completely covered, and joining a community who are all about honouring our journeys and continuing to open. The more support we have, the longer we can last. So become a patron. We'd love to have you. Go to patreon.com/NTM podcast. We literally couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening, and please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be medicine for.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.